My name is Eddie C, and welcome to my positive podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life, because everyone has a story to tell. Well, hello, and welcome to MPP, my positive podcast, and I'm your host, Eddie C. This is actually episode 25, and we'll be talking about solitude. Now, it's been a while since I've been putting my shows out, and basically that has a lot to do with my other activities I have as a musician and some things I do sometimes with my photography. But nevertheless, I still like doing these shows, and I still like sharing the stories of my guests with you. So, and it's been a wonderful summer, quite hot, and a lot of things are happening. So it's also hard to catch some of my guests because they want to enjoy this beautiful weather. But anyway, I've got a couple of special guests for you on this episode. And one guest is going to be telling about her work as a painter and as a designer. And my other guest is going to tell you some things about the film industry. So if you're curious to hear their stories, tune in and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to my positive podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my first guest to you. A very interesting young lady I met not too long ago, and we were talking about art and different things in life, and I thought it would be lovely to have her on the next show. So please welcome Miss Vitalina Desbocada. How are you?
Desbocada. I'm good. I'm great. Thank you. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Can you tell my listeners and me a little bit more about your background? I know a little bit about you, but my listeners don't, and something about your roots, where you're originally from, and of course, how you ended up in Antwerp, of all places.
I already knew I wanted to become an artist when I was little. And I think this passion comes from my bloodline, because my father, he was an artist, head of artist in the country I was born in, Latvia. And but all my relatives, they come from Russia. So originally I'm Russian. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know from my dad's words, one of my relative, not so far relative, he was a great Russian artist, but he immigrated to France, and he lived and worked in Paris. And his name was Konstantin Korovin. He's like world famous artist, impressionist. So there was no other way for me to not to become an artist, because since it's in my blood and my spirit.
Okay, so it's just a part of your genes and your calling. All right. Well, what brought you to Belgium, to Antwerp?
It's a great city, a city of artists, designers, and I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I'm a little bit. I believe in fate. So maybe something was predicted, because here I got my beautiful daughter. I am proud of her. She's also very artistic. Maybe somewhere in the future she will be a great artist or a great actress, because she has amazing skills for that. And yes.
Well, how old is your daughter?
She's almost 9. This autumn she's 9.
Oh. You met your daughter's father, your husband, when you came to in here in Belgium.
Yeah,
okay, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
And so,
but I'm not married anymore. Just for reference, I'm single.
Okay, but all right, but in the process of your coming over here to do your art form, I know I saw some of your work on Instagram, and it's quite interesting work that you're doing. Can you tell us the sort of art basic, because there's a little bit of everything in there?
Yeah, it's really different styles because I'm still trying to find myself, trying to find my significant style, which is almost there, I guess. So yeah, I'm trying myself in different spheres.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you point out a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure my listeners, as well as I am, were very interested in knowing a bit more. Okay, we know you got your roots or your genetics in as an artistic person, but at a certain point, you must have decided, well, this is really what I want to do. How old were you when you decided to do that?
What do you mean? Paintings?
Yeah, your paintings. Yeah, when you decided this is what I really want to do.
Well, okay, I'll tell you a story. It's not really a long story. So, I also dreamed. I always was fascinated by beautiful clothes, dresses, just fashion in general. And you can see I wear it. This is a dress of my own design.
Oh wow!
And,
okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
My audience doesn't see it, but I do. It's very nice. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, and I try myself as a fashion designer. I believe, and I know I succeeded in that direction. And one day, my ladies who made dresses for me, my seamstresses, they look at my sketches and said, "Why they are so detailed? You should not give us you don't need to color them. You just give us very simple design."
Yeah.
And if you want to do that, you better buy canvases, brushes, paints, and oil paints, and try. Who knows? Maybe there'll be something beautiful. And I was thinking, yeah, why not? I bought brushes, I bought canvases, so I followed their advice. But don't think it was something beautiful. It was just ugly. And I was sitting in front of white canvas thinking, what should I draw? But because I don't know, I had no idea. Everything was too boring. And I was American artist, Georgia Kefi is a world famous artist, and she's making she used to make beautiful flowers. And I used I was inspired of one of her works, so I use it for my first black and white. I don't know, because I knew nothing about colors.
Right.
Black and white painting. I still have it. It's in my bedroom. Yeah, because I don't want anyone to see that. It's so terrible.
But that's always nice those first things, to hold on to those, because it always reminds you of where you are now and how far you've come,
Exactly. And I can see my progress. So I do not compete with other great artists. I use them as, if I may use this word, as my teachers, but I never compare myself to them because they are masters for me. But I compare myself to me 3 years ago.
Well, we always say
3 years ago I started.
Yeah. Well, we always say, your biggest competition is the person you see in the mirror.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's like a song of Michael Jackson. If you want to hear the word, you better start with
looking at the man in the mirror.
The man in the mirror, exactly.
Wow.
So I decided to change my word, and I look at that man, woman, I said, girl, you can just go and do that.
You're very philosophical.
Yeah, by the way, my dad, he was, I don't remember if I mentioned that. Yeah. One of my relatives, he was a famous Russian artist, and my dad too. He was the chief of all artists of Latvia. It's a country I came from. I was born there, and and he didn't want me to become an artist. He prepared another career for me. So I listened to my dad, and I worked in the bank for many years. Yeah, and she was a really high position. I was a vice president. But it's not like the whole bank, but investment department. But still, I stopped it at the age of 25, yes. And I started my own business because I didn't want to have a boss who controlled me. Yeah, I don't like being controlled. This is like my spirit.
I can understand it. I was supposed to do something completely different as well, and I became a musician and became my own boss as well. So that's I can relate to that very well. Let me ask you another question about your artwork. So you came to Antwerp and you decided this is where I'm going to establish myself. Of course, you met the father of your daughter here. Decided to continue on with with life here. Also because you wanted your daughter to be educated.
Exactly. I find this country is perfect for kids, for family in general. Perfect education system, medicine, education here are just top.
All right, but you also have a son as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 2 years older.
He's 2 years older. Okay, but you had your son here in Antwerp as well, or before you?
Yes. No.
Before. Okay.
You don't want to know everything.
Well, this show is about positivity, and we like to know a lot of our guests that I have on the show. So that's just a little interest fact for us. Now, with the artwork that you're doing, are you doing any exhibitions here in Antwerp, or do you have any future plans for that?
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that?
Well, currently I'm looking for a gallery I can start with. Because there was a perfect gallery for me, and we had some agreements, but unfortunately we could not continue.
Mm-hmm.
So better forget about it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. So you're waiting, you're busy with that. So there's definitely something that's going to happen in the future.
To happen. Exactly.
That's wonderful. So how do you combine the time of your artwork with the children? Is that something you do when they're going to school, or are you working when they're there? How does that balance for you?
Well, good question. When I work, I try not to pretend, but I work like I have no kids. And as a parent, I take care of my kids like I have no work.
All right. Okay.
And then my personal life, I do like I have no kids and no work. Something like that. I don't know if it works.
Basically, doing your work when they're at school, or if they're occupied with other things, then it gives you the space to do your own work.
Yeah, they're quite independent.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
They're quite independent.
All right. I was looking at, once again, some of your work on Instagram, and I noticed you have a lot of philosophy around the work that you do, because a lot of the work that I saw you post, you have a message always to write around certain art pieces. Can you tell us some more about that? Is that something in combination with what you want to express your art, or are you a philosophical minded person?
Yes, that's right. I think both. But I believe that I would love to give you a nice example, but unfortunately I have no one. But I believe that just a beautiful painting, perfect skills, it's never enough. It's very important to have to attract spectators by the kind of message you want to give them, and they start thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their thoughts will be, but my goal is to make them think over the painting.
With your artwork in combination with what you say, you try to make people more aware about what's going on around them, as well as
around them. Maybe this is the way of communication. Mm-hmm. It's the way I can talk to them.
Right.
And I don't know. We all have our past, and maybe it's how I want to tell them about my past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know what words to use or what will be interesting exactly about me, but in a combination with art, I can express myself. Like, I'm not a combination, but through the art, I can express myself. For instance, there was my last painting. Mm-hmm. So we were donuts, if you remember. I think you saw it. I was questioning myself because it was reminding me of something. And all of a sudden, I decided to watch an old movie, Wild Orchid. Maybe you know, with Mickey Rourke. And there was a scene on the floor when...
right, I know the movie, yes.
When the character of Mickey Rourke, he let basically rape a girl. He's future girlfriend he was in love with, and because he had sort of issue. And when I saw that scene, and I was thinking like, oh my God, this is what my painting about. But I didn't use that scene to inspire myself. I remember that I was a little girl, maybe like 8-10 years old. I watched that movie.
It's something that came together.
Yeah. I love movies of 80s.
All right. Okay. Favorite. So I mean, that's the movie that stayed with you from your childhood.
Exactly. They could play.
Well, those were movies actually also, I think personally, where the actors and actresses, they all had let's say more personality, and nowadays
it's more commercial,
right?
More commercial and more competition, I guess.
And the actors made the movies happen. Not only the characters, but the people playing the actors. There's a lot more competition, but there's also a lot that they do with special effects and lighting and so on with all of the new modern technology. And the movies were a little bit more basic and less effects and more, let's say, drama and more reality to about how to place a character. Today, it's almost sort of like
about a beautiful picture and special
exactly
effects.
Yeah, it's about picture and sound and how flawless we can make it, and that's what I like about the old movies. There were flaws, I mean, and that
you relax when you watch them,
and that keeps it also down to earth.
Exactly.
We spoke about your plans to do some work with the exhibitions. By the way, is your son also busy with art, or is that something that just your daughter? Your son is interested in other things.
My daughter. She's painting.
All right, fantastic.
Science.
It's all about science. Wow. Okay.
It's all about science.
Oh, well, who knows? Maybe a future Nobel Peace Prize coming his way. You never know.
Maybe. He's inspired by Elon Musk.
That's quite interesting. Okay. Oh, okay.
And he looks like him a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
His father. But unfortunately not.
Well, we're going to get down to our final question, of course, which is our theme, and that's about solitude. And my question to you is, what does solitude not only mean to you, but what does solitude mean for you?
For me, it's a really, really good question. And I don't know how to answer in just a few words. But for me, it's something very, very important, really important. I cannot live without. I believe if you feel comfortable on your own, you're like a person. Because me, I don't need people around. I mean, like I need my friends. I need some people to communicate, to live, to share something, my feelings, my ideas, just time together. But for my work, to concentrate on some ideas and thoughts, and because I'm inspiration for myself, and I need to be at peace. And solitude gives me this feeling.
Those are some quite powerful words.
But it's very important, really important for everyone.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. The same way, basically, I like when I'm especially being creative, I need to be on my own. I can't have people around, not even in the same space of house, of rooms that I'm working, because...
Exactly. It's something irreplaceable for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about those moments when you just want to reflect on things? I know for me, and I've spoken with certain friends, that solitude is also that moment, for example, before you decide to go to sleep at night, that you can kind of like reflect on the day or think about what you want to do the coming day. And then that solitude of quietness can be an extra cushion,
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your your ideas about solitude and also telling us a little bit about your life.
Thank you very much for inviting and having me here. It was really, really amazing.
All right. Is there some small advice you would like to give people yourself as far as solitude is being concerned?
Of course, that is my little advice. Just live your life now and don't think that you have 1,000 years ahead. Not. Life is unpredictable and you don't know how much time you have more. I don't know, a year, 10 years, maybe a week. So there's no room for things like anger, envy, or I don't know, all the bad emotions. Like forgive more, love more, smile more, and be thankful and grateful. Before you go to bed, just count things you're grateful for. Like for your kids, for that you're able to, I don't know, to see, to walk. You have hands, you have arms, legs. You can see, you can hear, you can feel. Most of the people, some of people, they don't have those abilities, but they fight to be happy. And we got those things for free, but we use them as granted, which is not really right.
You want to say, don't be materialistic minded.
Materialistic minded, exactly. Yeah, because it's not all about money. It's money is not. It's good. It's you can make your life easier, but it's not what we have fight for. These material things.
Well, listen, Vitalina, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. And I will post any information or links on the page when we listen to this interview. All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye. This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a young lady I had the pleasure of actually meeting on Facebook. We kind of got in contact with each other there. And she's actually a filmmaker and originally from the same town that I grew up in, Gary, Indiana. And I'd like to present my next guest to you, Miss Pamela J. Richardson. How you doing, Pam?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine. There's a big time difference between us, of course, because it's like I'm 9 hours ahead of you. It's like 10 o'clock and a little bit after 10 o'clock in the morning there, and here a little bit after 7 in the evening here.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, listen, why don't you tell my audience a little bit about your background, your roots, how you got into filmmaking, and how did you end up in L.A.?
Well, when I was in high school, I took a drama class and I didn't want to be an actor, even though I was good at it. And in my class, we were allowed to submit a screenplay, not a screenplay, but a stage play. And I was one of 2 students who was selected to direct their their stage play. I keep saying that because I'm a filmmaker.
Right.
So anyway, and I realized, hey, this is my calling. This is what I really want to do. So I ended up going to USC Film School, which is one of the best in the country. And at the time, I was the only Black person admitted in my semester.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, and then, from there, it was just, working your way up in the business and deciding to become independent because I wanted to do my own thing, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, were you always interested in filmmaking already as a child, or is that something that came in your later teen years or something like that, or when you got out of high school? Or
Right. It came in my teen years. That's why I ended up going to film school. When I was a kid, it was basically I just wrote poetry, but I thought I was destined for a business career.
All right. And in a particular direction, business-wise, you wanted to go into at that time?
Well, at the time, I just thought I would end up at some Fortune 500 company working in just like business management, something like that.
Okay. But the film thing, the movie thing just sort of like took off. Did you see a lot of movies as a child, or?
Yeah, I've always watched a lot of movies, and I guess one of the things that was kind of interesting is that I didn't really like TV at the time. And when I went to school, and so I watched films, but I was kind of not, I was kind of critical of television, but everything has evolved now.
Right.
And
Right.
so I started out working at production companies like Disney.
Okay, so you worked at Disney. I saw something on your Facebook page. You were involved in this. Were you a part of that, or was it you were just at their presentation of Dope Sick, which is about the?
Oh yeah, I was just there. Yeah, because I'm in the business. Sometimes I go to screenings.
All right,
Yeah.
it was a very good series, very good series, and I followed the whole thing. It was quite interesting. Yeah. Very,
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, because it really does sort of mimic real life to a great extent. It's very honest because it's on Hulu. So
right. Well, I know that you're busy. You have a film out yourself, which I'm still trying to find a way to see it. I just recently changed my whole television system, so hopefully I can maybe find it now, because you sent me a couple of links to try to download it, and it was hard to see it here in this part of Europe for some reason with downloading.
right. Yeah, I did talk to my distributor about that too, and so they need to figure out a way to rectify that. But yeah, so I directed and produced a documentary film. It's a cutting edge documentary film called Gold Digging for Love of Money, and it just got re-released on Tubi recently. It screened at Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival in 2008. So it's
all right. Were you over? Were you at the festival then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Yeah, we didn't know each other at that time. So.
Yeah, I've been a couple times. So yeah, like I said, it's within my realm of business, and it's one of those opportunities to meet people who you don't necessarily have access to internationally. So it's a good thing to do if you have something completed.
Absolutely. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the movie without spilling too much? I mean, of course, hopefully it's going to get attached to, I don't know, is there a possibility that it's going to be on Netflix, or if it gets into the Disney app or one of the Prime apps or anything like that? Because I really want to see the movie. I've been trying to watch it and click into it. It's hard to get hold of here.
It's hard because it's on Tubi, and you guys don't have Tubi there, I guess.
We don't have that there. Yes, that's the problem.
Oh, there's a possibility. The numbers are going to tell all. And, as you know, there are films that were done from the 1940s that are still showing. So I wouldn't say that it's not going to happen. We'll just have to wait it out and see. But my distributor does have some other outlets that they want to send it to.
Okay. Yeah, it would be really nice to see it because like I said, I'm pretty handy at my age with some of the technical stuff,
I get it. So, so the film does feature Ty Bridges. You're probably familiar with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Junior and other people, men and women. And that was the thing. My perspective is that they come from all walks of life and every social class. And in a tough economy, anyone with an income is a target. So, so that was sort of like the take that I took, as opposed to just showing the cliche, bombshell female with a rich older man, because that's not just what it is anymore. Men are gold diggers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You have them from all shapes, sizes, and genders nowadays. That's true. Well, what brought you on this idea of doing this movie?
Basically being in LA and seeing that I'm around so many gold diggers, for lack of a better word, male and female, because everybody, it's a place that attracts opportunists.
Right.
Because there's a lot of opportunity here.
You're right.
Yeah.
But it's based on the whole American way of life, I think, with compared, well, although in Europe, it's more or less starting to become more or less the same, especially now with the way social media has gone now. And
Right.
How it's made the world actually in one way a lot smaller, but also in many ways much further apart, because we've created a very individualistic society in many ways. And most folks are, especially you see a lot of young folks, they might as well have a telephone with super glue to their hand, because they can't let that thing go for any amount of hours, let alone minutes.
Yeah, it's really, in my opinion, is great if you're advertising things, but it's not so great for the psyche of people,
Right.
Because it's like you're creating this false reality. You can be whoever you want. That's why shows like Catfish are so popular.
Right.
Catfish, you pretend like you're someone else.
Right, right.
And so anyway, I have very mixed feelings about it, but it's useful. For business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me as well, as a musician, producer, I have it in with the podcast as well. It's social media is for me a fantastic way of reaching out to people. I mean, this is how we were able to meet, and some other folks back over there coming from Gary and people here in Europe and other parts of the world. So it's a great medium for that. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast in the first place was because it was during the COVID period, and everyone was sitting home. And every time I opened up my social media, a lot of folks were depressed about this. There were a lot of lonely people. And I thought, well, let me just do something about people that you would never really hear anything about on a regular basis. And so I came up with this whole positivity concept to talk with people, take a word and build on that word. And then each week have, 2 or 3 people on there. And okay, the show is now once a month, because after COVID started, I started performing again.
Okay, very good.
So in between tours and stuff, I had to find some time to do this, and but I mean, the whole, like I said, the social media, I have mixed feelings about it as well, because in a way it's very good, because it's been able to bring people together, families together that are separated in distances and everything. I mean, I have, for me, it's wonderful because I can talk with my oldest son who's living in Kentucky, and the grandchildren, and, see the great grandchild and everything. So it's all very, very nice to be able to do that. On the other side, I see a lot of if I look at a lot of stuff, for example, that's on, let's say, the Instagram sites and stuff like that, and I see a lot of these little videos going by. There's some nice little short films that make you kind of like think, where you got a lot of people that just post like everything that they do.
Right.
And then you get it. Then it's almost like watching commercial television, where, especially like in the States, where you see like about a show which is maybe an hour in the whole film, and then it's like about a half an hour commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's selling themselves, and they're doing, that's the thing I guess I don't like about it. And they're doing whatever they have to do to look the part. And a lot of this stuff isn't healthy, but they're being rewarded by, monetarily.
Right.
Sort of hard to, especially if you don't have to actually go to a job and you can figure out a way to, make it's not really passive.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's what's going on.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, do you have any new ideas and new plans you plan on, working on in the future? What's your next project?
Yes, actually, I've been writing, and I'm almost done with 2 partners, a video game concept. I had never done that before, but I'm kind of if someone says, I know I'm a really good writer. So if someone says to me, hey, I want to hire you to do this, I'll just say yes, and then I'll figure out how to do it.
All right. That's that Gary, Indiana attitude.
So that, I've been really busy, and I'm also, I was hired to write it started out as a screenplay, and it won several awards, but it's about a Black family that struck oil in Oklahoma in the early 1900s. And then they kept the oil in the family, the money and the oil until today, but they've had to fight unscrupulous lawyers, and they're part of a class action lawsuit which Sunoco Oil lost, but they're still fighting because they don't want to pay people. So we turned.
Is there going to be a movie of that?
It out as that, and I won came in second or third in maybe 12 screenwriting competitions because my client submitted them. So it was like, okay, great, but it's better in series because it spans 150 years. So
all right,
we turned it into a series.
Okay, so I'll get you to write my screenplay about my life as well. Then,
okay,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that offline.
Okay, and so I'm also in development and pre-production on a sci-fi film that
oh wow.
was brought in as a writer, and now I'm also producing it and possibly directing it. We have money through the development stage, but we're looking for a partner to get the rest of the budget for, because it's not a small budget. It's a minimum $14 million.
Ooh, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
But it's very, it's gotten a lot of folks like it, but, we need Disney or somebody to get behind it. So that's what we're working on right now.
Okay. You're doing most of your business transactions yourself, or you have a representative that's, working for you in those lines for you, or you?
Represented by a lawyer, a law firm that also produces films here in LA on both of those projects.
All right. And so LA was like how long have you been living in LA now?
All my adult life. Like I said, I went to college here and I never left. I never thought I'd stay past 5 years because I initially didn't really like LA. And I like a lot of things about LA. I really do. But eventually I know I'm probably going to leave because I don't have any family here anymore. Everyone left.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But LA has a lot to offer. The weather can't beat.
Right.
I love where I live. I can hike and all those and do things that I just like to do for me.
Right. Yeah. I have a very, very dear friend of mine. She's an actor. And now she's working as an assistant with what's the guy's name? Kevin Costner and a few guys. And she's been on one of my shows as well. So you check out one of the earlier podcasts. You'll find her. I'll tell you about her later on.
Okay.
But the other thing is, of course, before we get to our last question, is that how do you see the let's say the movie industry nowadays as compared to, let's say, growing up as a child? If you compare the films from, let's say, from the past till now, because for me, I see, let's say, a lot of technical things happening in the background, which kind of like, it's about sound, it's about vision.
Right.
And I see a lot of usually if I look at a movie, I'm a movie freak. So I like movies are like for me, like books are for other people. And so when I look at a movie right away, I can see on certain movies, okay, they wanted this Al Pacino type. So they got an actor that's younger that looks like him, or they have this very much of a typecasting based on actors that have made, let's say, very big, ambitious successes in their lives, Right. How do you see it yourself?
Well, I see the business expanding. I think there are more opportunities for everyone. And that goes back to your question about, or our discussion about social media. It's like now you can be 5 years old, and if you can shoot a camera, you can get your stuff out there, or you can put it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. So I see more opportunities for inclusiveness. And you can see that on television right now because streaming media, and there's so many streaming platforms, have just created opportunities. So you don't have to necessarily go to a studio to get anything done. If you can find some investor who's willing to put up some money, then you can get your stuff out there, and there are tons of independent distributors that'll share the profits with you,
Well, it's the same as the music business. I mean, you have Spotify and Tidal and all of the different, music media companies that, get you out. I mean, I release my own albums now as well without any middleman, and just put it online. And also my videos. I do my videos with an iPhone, I make my music videos with an iPhone, and that works for me. It's just to get the stuff on there, put it on YouTube, and then share it on your social media. And it makes it does make a difference. Although I'm still an old school guy. I still like, as a musician, to go into a studio with a group of guys, because that's how I got in. That's how I grew up in the business. I left Gary when I was 19 and came to Holland. And when I was 21, 22 years old, I started already working with a lot of the big names, also from the States, and some of the big Dutch groups, and, working with the Trams, working with Timmy Euro, Lou Ross, all these guys that came over to Europe. I was fortunate to be able to play with all these guys. And I've seen the business change. There's still a lot of very good artists out there, of course, with the development of the different styles of music now and the electronics with the computers and all. It's made it easier for everybody to be very independent, and in a way that's nice. And on the other side, I miss working in a collective, because then if you still listen to radio shows and regular radio, it's still about 75%, almost 75% of the music that we listen to on the radio that goes by is stuff that was recorded back up until, let's say, the early and mid 80s. Mm-hmm. Right. And the so-called icons, you can maybe count them on one hand nowadays, but back in the day, if you were considered a superstar if you were successful for more than 5 or 10 years. And nowadays it's like, as an artist, and the next year there's this artist, and it's, I did an article about music becoming like a fast food industry.
Yeah.
And
that sounds about right. I've also, by the way, directed music videos. You probably know of Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah.
One with him and Chef Sean. They're both out of Chicago, but I did them here, and I've done a couple things with Chef Sean.
Oh, fantastic! Well, we'll definitely keep in touch off camera, off after the show.
Yeah,
some collaborations.
Yeah, with but I'm not in the music business. I'm only in the, I always tell people that I have enough to do. So I'm just the shooter. I'm just the director and producer of once a video is done, needs to be. That's pretty when I come in, but I'm not involved in the music industry, but we always do music for, different projects.
Right. Well, I'm, like I said, I have we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about that outside of the show. Some of the other things that I'm involved with, and some ideas I have in my head. I've got one more question to ask you before we end this fantastic conversation. My theme for this particular show is about solitude. And my next question is, what does solitude not only mean to you, but for you?
Okay. Wow, that's an interesting question. Well, solitude for me means being able to have peace within yourself and not feel like you always have to have people or, around you in order to be creative, to be happy. A lot of people can't take solitude, so to speak, and, that's why they're jumping off bridges. But solitude doesn't have to necessarily mean being alone all the time or just being at peace, being alone. You should be able to have that same kind of peace even in a crowd. So that's what solitude is to me, just being happy with who I am, understanding that I'm not perfect, but just being comfortable in my own skin and my own space.
Well said. Spoken by a true writer.
Okay.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing something about, your life. And I'm sure my listeners will also enjoy this very much, and as much as I did, if not more even. So, and we'll definitely keep in touch with each other in the future about some other joint adventures.
Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
Already.
Well, thank you for having me. And again, you people out there, please, if you can, watch Gold Digging for Love of Money on Tubi.
And if I find a link where I know for sure it's possible to download, because if I can download it, I know everybody else will be able to see it. So
right.
All right.
So I'll do a little investigation for you as well and get back to you on that. Okay.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Pamela, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll definitely keep in touch in the future.
For sure.
And Gary's very proud of you, I'm sure.
Thank you.
This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C. Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversations with my two guests, coming from two different worlds, two different backgrounds, but both finding some form of solitude in their lives. Now, let's take the word solitude for a moment. Just the sound of the word creates this sort of standalone kind of factor. That's quite unique because I think it has more to do with how you are as an individual in your life at that moment. So on those words, here's my quote. Solitude. We think that it has to be in a place of quietness. But it can be basically anywhere. From the room in your house to a spot in a garden or park. The moments you lay in your bed before you sleep, or even awake the following morning. Even in your car for a quiet drive, or just a meal in front of your TV. Be it a vigorous sport or just a walk, there can be solitude found. Choose that solitude that's best for you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed my guests, and I'd like to thank both of them, Vitalina Desbocada and Miss Pamela J. Richard, for coming on and sharing their stories with us about solitude. And remember, solitude is anywhere where you feel it and find a peace of mind. Until next time, my name is Eddie C. Please tune into our webpage and check out our possibilities to become a Patreon and to support the show. I would appreciate it very much. And there's t-shirts, there's caps that you can also eventually order so you can share your positivity out there with your friends and family. All right, take care for now. And until next time, you can find me on all platforms like Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next time and stay positive.